Over the years, I have heard of stories in which Bigfoot-like creatures were described as helping, and in some cases, rescuing people. Just such a case was related on an August 30th, 2016 episode of Ground Zero Radio with Clyde Lewis. A man named Bob described a bizarre encounter he had in 1968, the time a hairy bipedal creature saved him from being attacked by a bear. Bob, who was at the time working in science, he is now retired and living in Ohio, and his wife were looking for a place to go camping. They were not camping, but merely looking for a place to set up camp when the time came. They had traveled up to the northern woods of Wisconsin. After traveling around, they eventually happened upon a spot they thought looked promising. Bob recalls that he had exited the vehicle and was making his way through some really tall, wide grass when he spotted an area that looked padded down. He immediately became leery and cautiously inched forward and soon found himself face to face with a bear. He quickly swung up into a tree while calling for his wife to run and get his gun. He noted that the bear was only a first or second year bear, and he began to wonder where the mother was. Certainly she would be close by. He sat in the tree watching the bear, which, for some reason, had not elected to climb the tree after him. It looked like he was playing with me, and all of a sudden, a tree, a small tree, maybe 8 foot long, with dirt on one end, come flying out of the bushes and hit this bear in the rump, and boy, he took off. He ran under where I was in the tree, and I turned around and watched him disappear through the grass. I was ready to get down out of the tree, and I turned around, and there was this thing standing there. Up until this time, I'd never heard of a Bigfoot or anything like that. I grew up in the city in Ohio, so I'd never heard of such a thing. The witness described the creature as having 4 arms, though that was only because he did not understand what he was seeing in the moment. He assumed the creature he was looking at was some type of extraterrestrial entity. He felt calmness in its presence. The first thing I really noticed was it had 4 arms. It had 2 arms that were long, and it had 2 little arms that looked like it came out the back of its neck. And I think I froze. I don't know, but I looked this creature in the eye. It had dark eyes, and its face and eyes were one of the most peaceful things I ever seen. And I just stood there on this limb, looking at it 10 feet away from me. The first thing that popped into my head was, it's an alien that had come from somewhere off this world. I don't know how long I stared at it, but all my fear left me, and I was just calm, standing there looking at this creature. At this point, his wife came running through the woods. I had told her to get my pistol out of the car, but it was the wrong car. It was in my other car. I wasn't going to shoot it. I was going to shoot at the bear and make noise and run it away. But anyway, when I looked over at my wife, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not dreaming. And I look back, and I see it turn and walk about another 10 feet away from me and go back into these bushes. The witness claims that it walked past some smaller trees off towards a large forested area. Anyway, hanging on the back, what I thought was 2 extra arms, was a baby hanging in the back of it, and it had a hold of the hair on the chest. It didn't look like anything from the ape family. I gotta tell you, I have a very good memory, and I took a picture, more or less, unconsciously, of its face. I looked on the feet of the baby, and they were flat. It had toes like people toes. It disappeared into the woods, and I'm just standing there. I'm just stunned still. Bob claims that his wife did not see the creature, and she wondered what had happened to the bear. Bob, who had been a skeptic all of his life, was forced to explain what had happened. That a large, hairy bipedal creature, a Bigfoot, had emerged out of the woods and ran off the bear, thus potentially saving his life. The witness described feeling a sense of calm while in the presence of this creature. This is not that unusual. There are a number of reports from people who claim to feel no fear, a sense of calmness and peace when around Bigfoot-like entities. Though there are some researchers who believe that Bigfoot-like creatures, like aliens, are able to manipulate the thoughts and emotions of the humans they encounter, a sort of telepathically induced hypnosis. Though most researchers, I'm sure, scoff at this notion. It is possible that the Bigfoot creature was merely running off the bear in order to protect its child, and Bob's activity in the woods and sighting the bear alerted the Bigfoot to its presence. It's possible that the Bigfoot creature didn't even know Bob was there and only became aware of it after the fact. Bob's reaction upon seeing the creature, his sense of calm, doesn't really make sense, especially given that moments earlier he had assumed he was looking at a being from outer space, one that was covered in hair and apparently had 4 arms. Most likely he would have been terrified, though he described feeling a sense of peace, a sense of calmness. This leads me to believe that indeed he was being mentally manipulated by this entity, but to what end?